I will say, guys, welcome back to my beautiful podcast video over here. I have a true entrepreneurship talk today. I will be talking about how to stop anger. I need you to understand what anger is. I need you to understand that it's got everything to do with negativity and resentment and jealousy, and also pessimism and Satanism, and anything to do with looking down at people and also kicking them down and never lifting them up. I promise you that everything to do with anger is everything to do with something that's never Jesus. I need you to understand that those people who are never angry in life, I promise you those people can always lift. I promise you they can always make sure that no matter what, that the world is more beautiful. I promise you that those people who are angry, I promise you that those people who are angry are really people who are argumentative around what's going on. You have to understand that when you have someone who will never listen to you and who is very ignorant about what you're doing in life and never cares about you, and when you message them, they get angry in terms of they never like you and they hate you because of something you said or something you did or something you are or something you stand for. I promise you those people are negative people. I promise you those people are really never doing anything to grow, and they're never really forgiving you. You have to understand, in order for you to never be angry, you have to look at the positive side, and you have to look at what Jesus has done. You have to look at what Jesus has been doing this whole time during your life here on earth. You have to understand that Jesus has written the Bible, and people have documented Jesus over times. You have to understand that in order for you to overcome anger, you have to be able to be a person like Jesus. I don't care what gender you are, you must follow Jesus' principles. You have to understand that Jesus' principles are the universal laws. You have to understand that those people who are really never in slavery are people who are happier, and also are people who are less resentful, because as you see the world today, you have to understand that many people are falling down while 1% of the world is picking up the world. You have to understand that most of the government systems in the world and the politics and everything that's going on is really, let's say, never growing in terms of something's happening that where you have to go and work for money so that you can work for possessions. I promise you that's what makes people angry. I promise you that's what really is the cause of anger, because of the government systems and what's going on around the world, and those people who are in possession of power and who dominate the laws of human governing, in terms of those people who are governed by humans, are really people who are slaves to the possessions of this world. I mean, they're getting loans and they're working a 9 to 5. I mean, they have no possessions. I realize that possessions and having more of it in your life is going to make you angry. You have to understand that no matter what, when you cut out possessions of this world, because Jesus never really loved this world. You have to understand that Jesus only ever loved Jesus. You have to understand, because Jesus loved Jesus, I promise you that Jesus was able to teach everybody the truth of life. You have to understand that the truth of life means that you be a person who never ever loves the world and only ever puts Jesus first. I mean, you are never even second, you are never even third. I mean, your kids are never even first. I mean, you just put Jesus first. I promise you this way, you'll be less angry, because you'll study the Bible and you'll study what Jesus did. I promise you those people who are connecting the dots and teaching in self-educational videos about what is what and how to go about daily life, even inside the Bible, I promise you that no matter what, that all knowledge, that the more you accumulate it, I promise you, you will eventually minimize your anger. I promise you the more knowledge that you accumulate in daily life, you will get less angry over time, because all knowledge in the world derives from the truth. I don't really care what it is. I mean, people can lie to you all they love. I promise you that eventually, the more knowledge you have, the better you're able to connect the dots, and the better you're able to speak, and the better you're able to look, and the better you're able to do anything in life and attract what you need in life. I promise you that those people who are more successful than you and have more than you are people who have more knowledge than you. You have to understand that those people who work smarter are people such as I and Jesus, mainly Jesus. I need you to understand mainly Jesus. I need you to understand mainly Jesus, who is smart to show you that those people in the world who really have the wisdom to back up Jesus' work and even teach something. on video and in podcasting and really inspire and lift the world all the time are going to be people who are motivators and motivational speakers today, and people who are donating a lot towards helping people and being compassionate. You have to understand that is the whole root of goodness. You have to understand the goodness in life is helping people, while the evil is kicking people down. I promise you, I had evil in my life where I was a person following the crowd and I was kicking people down because everybody around me was doing it. I grew up that way. I mean, you have to understand that people will judge you and criticize you no matter what you do. I mean, you have haters in life no matter what you do. I promise you that Jesus did. I promise you that God and the Son of God, who is the truth of light. I mean, this world is nothing without Jesus. I promise you, he was hated the most. I promise you, out of all the people on the planet, I promise you that Jesus was hated the most. I promise you that Jesus saved your life. I promise you that you have to understand the story behind Jesus and more of it in terms of how Jesus went to Egypt and what happened between the Bible and how it was stated in the New Testament and in the Old Testament. You have to go read every single verse and you have to define it yourself. I mean, you never go to other people. You can go to other people. You just realize that the more you go to other people to explain the Bible for you, you have to realize that eventually you can just go and do it yourself. I'm just saying that. I'm able to go and grab a verse now from the Bible. I'm able to write 50 pages and more on just one verse. I mean, I can write 5,000 pages of a book in one verse of the Bible. You have to understand that the Bible is so big that you can just write unlimited knowledge in it. You have to be a person who's lifting people. I just went today for the first time in Brisbane. I went to the shops. I seen two ladies and I've been having paranoia and anxiety about everything in terms of having a woman in my life. And I have women in my life. It's just that anything else related to inviting her over to my room and all of this, I promise you that it was never even in my mind. I promise you, although that I really suffered about it. I mean, I was never able to have one night stands, and I did have one night stands. I mean, I was never able to continue it. I promise you, I suffered so much around women and all of this that I needed in life. That is the earthly realm. I promise you, I suffered in materialistic aspects. I promise you that I went up to him and I just started a beautiful conversation. I mean, I had no interest in sex. I had interest to get their Instagram. I promise you that is it. I promise you there is nothing further. I also recommend that you really realize that I was only able to go up to them and speak to them because I was never angry. I was never irritated about my life. You have to understand that those people who are happier will approach you more and will even approach people on the street and will approach that beautiful woman or man who is standing at the corner shop doing something or at the clothing shop. You understand? I mean, you have to understand that all people in life are beautiful when you're lifting up. I mean, when you're kicking them down, you have to understand that you resent the world and you hate the world and you call the world crap. I mean, you're just ungrateful. I need you to be more grateful. I need you to be more empathetic and forgiving. You have to understand that if you're a person who was like me, I mean, I was a person where my face, I had no feelings in my face. I had no aura around me. I had nothing going for me. I mean, my face was absorbed in coldness. I mean, I couldn't touch my leg. I promise you that I'd probably never even feel it. I mean, most of my body was numb. I was always numb to cigarettes and to caffeine and Red Bull, and I was always agitated. I was always like this. You have to understand, I could never sleep. I was fat, I was ugly. You have to understand that it's because I went out of the Jesus path. I mean, I love Jesus all my life. You have to understand. I'm still here today because I love Jesus. I promise you that those people who have no lives today are people who have passed away. And I promise you that those people who never follow Jesus are more likely to die a shorter death in terms of they are more likely to live short in life and die at age 15 or 28 or even 30 or at 2 or 3. You have to understand, no matter what happens, that sometimes something happens where somebody may kill you or whatever. You have to understand though that the rule still applies, that those people who follow Jesus' life are really going to live longer. I mean, anything that happens that's an accident in terms of outside circumstances where you're never able to control it, I mean, you have to understand that a 2-year-old baby who gets killed by Hitler, you have to understand that the baby still did attract it, although it's not the baby's fault. I mean, it's nobody's fault. You have to understand that the baby was just in that moment to do a service, and that's it. You have to understand that. You have to understand that's the way life is, and I promise you that Jesus will raise that child and will make that child reborn in eternity. I promise you, no matter what, that everything in this life has a reason for dying and for living. I promise you that no matter what happens, that God was here and was saying for us to really live now. I promise you, no matter what, that God forgave us about what happened with Jesus Christ. I promise you that those people in the past really never knew what they were doing. I promise you that no matter what, you realize that Jesus is just something that's really going to amplify you. You have to understand the blood of Christ is everything. You have to understand that those people who are resenting more are people who are drug addicts, and caffeine's going to irritate you. And when you're irritated, you're going to be more resentful and jealous, and you're going to look uglier as well. And I promise you that resentment and jealousy and hatred and anything negative is venomous. I mean, it's poisonous. I need you to be venomous, such as Jesus. I never need you to be venomous, such as Hitler. I need you to understand that it's two different worlds. I need you to understand that no matter what, you become the person who's really, really growing and empathetic toward yourself and others. I promise you that no matter what, that you go and do some videos for yourself on camera and you really grow in the video. I promise you today, I never even ate anything other than just one can of beans. I promise you that usually I have something more than what I've had today. I transmuted the energy. I said, I'm still hungry. I'm just hungry for success now. I mean, I still have to eat. I mean, I just got my food over here. I still have to eat something. I said, I'll first do a video because by the time I eat, 1 hour has passed. I'd rather do it now and get it over and done with. I promise you, I was feeling a bit irritated, and I was never really irritated. I was really frustrated. I was frustrated in a way that I was saying, I just need to have some fun. I realized it's never about fun anymore. You have to understand that I used to go clubbing, and I see people clubbing today. I see people going nightclubs and picking up women and going to have sex and all of that. I realized that's all fun. I was saying I need to have fun. I mean, I was trash when I said that. I mean, I went and I said to myself, I realized Jesus is my only fun now. I realized I'd rather do another hour video of my life coaching session and be able to complete 3 hours today than go to a nightclub to waste 8 hours to have sex one time with a woman. I mean, for me, it never works out. You have to understand that you need to be a person who's far developing over the crowd that you're seeing. I promise you that millennials today, I promise you, I'm a millennial. I promise you that many people who are my generation are going around nightclubs and just wasting time. I promise you they're getting older because they're drinking. I promise you they're drinking alcohol and they're doing drugs and smoking pipe and doing heroin and whatever. I promise you that you are the crowd you surround yourself with. I need you to surround yourself with me and Jesus. I need you to realize that you surround yourself with those people who educate more and more so. I promise you, no matter what, that you just go and surround yourself with Jesus only then. I promise you that is your best opportunity. I although suggest that you surround yourself with a community of people who are teaching today and are also people who are very successful and also preaching the Bible. You'll find them. I promise you can go and see John C. Maxwell, you can go and see Tony Robbins, you can go and see Eckhart Tolle, you can go and see Osho, you can go and see Tim Ferriss and Lewis Howes, you can go and see Grant Cardone and Robert Kiyosaki. I promise you these guys will help teach you more fundamentals about the Jesus wisdom. You have to understand that no matter what happens, you're never doing it for the money. I need you to understand that those people who do it for the money are really doing it for the possessions of this world in terms of the money and the possessions of this world. I promise you that anything outside in the world, I never need you to complain about it. I realized I just went to the toilet. I went to one toilet in Brisbane Nomads, I realized I found one area where there was hair on the sink. I mean, somebody trimmed their beard and left all hair on the sink. I said, I would just go somewhere else. I mean, I was disgusted. I went somewhere else. I seen another one, in another venue. I went and seen that the same thing happened, that somebody else trimmed their hair or whatever, and it was on the sink. I was about to complain. I realized that I found out something. I realized that when you complain about what you see in the world today, I promise you, when you complain, you really become resentful and jealous because of where you are in life. You have to understand that when you try to fix anything in the outside world, you're really saying that you need a 9 to 5 in order to do it. You have to understand that those people who are working on 9 to 5, I promise you they're working for this world outside of me. I'm working inside in the Jesus world. You have to understand there are two barriers in life. You have to understand that those people who are resenting life and angry are more fixated in the material world. I promise you that those people who are more happier and wealthy and more successful are more people who are fixed inside themselves in Jesus' name. You have to understand that you need to be a spiritual person, and a spiritual person is Jesus. You have to understand a spiritual person grows. I promise you that the opposite of spirituality is a materialistic person. I promise you that a materialistic person is more evil than those people who never have possessions. I have possessions, I just never care about it. I never care about this. I just have Jesus. You have to understand, when you ask yourself, what do I have in life? You have to honestly just say that I just have Jesus. I've got nothing in this life. I don't even have myself. I promise you I was bought at a price. In Jesus' name. I never care. I'm safe for eternity. I just go and do what my master needs me to do. You understand? I'm going to do work for the Father God. You have to understand, I do it for free. I never charge for my work. I never care. God never charged for his work. I never charge for my work either, which is God's work. You have to understand that many people find me ridiculous and they say, you'll go broke. I'll never be broke. I'll never be broke in God's name. You have to understand that God will always find a way for you to live life much better. You have to understand that those people who are really jealous and say that you have to figure out how to charge for your content, I realize that those are the people who are more working for the possessions of this world. You have to understand, when you charge something for your work, you really never have a passion, because you have to understand that the real passion is never charge anything for it. You just go and give it freely. You understand? Jesus done that, and you just go and follow what Jesus done. I promise you that's going to make you more happier and richer better. You have to understand that no matter what, I repeat, I am richer better, because that's another method where you can escape any resentment, and you can also say, I am richer better, and I promise you with that, you'll find a way to say, and I forgive you. You have to understand, when you forgive someone, you just say, I'm richer better. You have to understand that it's about forgiving someone, and you have to forgive them today. You have to realize that those people who do forgive are really those people who grow and have confidence and courage to move forward. I realize that when you're scared to approach someone, I realize it's because you're negative. I realize it's because you have nothing to say. I realize it's something that you have nothing to collaborate about with them. I realize that you have no shares in common with those people. You always have something in common with those people who need to grow. When you're growing, you always have something to talk about. There's always something to talk about. I promise you, when you have nothing to talk about and you say nothing much is going on in your life, I promise you that way, you've already told me your life is nothing much. My life is always something. I've always got something to say. I never say nothing much. You have to understand that those people who say nothing much and are always the old news, they're going by old traditions and they're following the old tradition. You have to understand, you never do that. You follow Jesus' tradition, which is the new age. You understand? You never follow what people do, because that's what they're doing. You follow the tradition of Jesus. You never follow how people are and how people are following religion. You follow Jesus' religion, You understand? You follow Jesus simply. You follow Jesus because you have to understand that Jesus is the most powerful person on the planet. You have to understand that the Bible gives the representation of a man, and I promise you that it's never made up. I promise you that there is no lies in wisdom. I promise you that wisdom can never lie. I promise you wisdom can never lie. You have to understand that those people who make common sense and those people who grow are really more fond of Jesus Christ. I promise you that no matter what, you go and study Buddha, you go and study the Muslim faith, you go and study everything in life, I promise you there is one God. I promise you no matter what, that God is never Buddha, although Buddha, who is the religion in Buddhism, you have to understand that is really, really in Jesus Christ. You have to understand that there is no sin anymore, as Buddha said. You have to understand that whatever Buddha said there has so much to do with Jesus, because Jesus said, I came to save you guys. I repelled your sin. I promise you guys are never sinning ever again in my life. I promise you that means you're free to do whatever you like. You understand? You're free to go and do whatever you like. Although Jesus said you have a choice. I promise you that when you keep going the other way, where it's never my way, I promise you in terms of Jesus' way, you have to understand that means you're going to sin more. You have to understand. You've been saved. I mean, you can keep sinning and you'll be saved. I promise you though that you'll be resentful and you'll be angry throughout your life, and you'll never have the life that you're supposed to live. Although say so that you go and follow Jesus and that you go and study the Bible more and more, I promise you that you'll be less angry. I promise you you have all your dreams come true, because that is the foundation of something perfect. I mean, Jesus is perfect, and you can only be in everything that is life that is Jesus. You can never be anything else. You can never be me. You can never be anything else except for Jesus. I promise you, I'd rather that you be Jesus than anything else in this world. I'm Jesus. I mean, when I say that I'm Jesus, I mean I follow Jesus. You have to understand that those people who are really, really living life are the people who are growing the most. You have to understand that life is about growing. You have to understand that when you're trying to communicate to someone, you make them grow with you. You never just communicate with them to waste their time. You never waste people's time. I never need you to do that. I need you to understand that when you have people such as family and people around you who may waste your time, I need you to realize that you go and make them aware that they're wasting your time. I need you to make them aware, and I also then need you to realize that you go and find something better to do. I never need you to waste your time on people who waste your time. I realize that you got something more important to do in Jesus' work. You understand? You go and do Jesus' work more than anything else. I promise you never have to talk to your family and anybody in the world. You just go and do Jesus' work. I promise you that you have the best lifestyle. I promise you everybody else will waste your time. I promise you no matter what, that you go and really, really write more in your journal, because writing in your journal everything that you think about on a daily basis is going to help you to change your thoughts and change your and I promise you it's going to help you change your reality, and it's going to help you more aware. I promise you it's going to make you more aware of what's going on in your life. I sometimes stuff up my language, although I do it on video, and I have no edits in my video. You may have realized. I love to go all out. I love to just do 1 hour. I mean, I stick to the 1 hour barrier. I used to have 3 hours. I do 3 hours a day. I just do it in 1 hour sections. I realized that sitting down for 3 hours to speak on one topic, I can speak on 3 topics in 3 hours. I love to keep moving forward. I realize it's much more helpful for me to do it that way. I mean, it's much more helpful for me to do it that way. I have to repeat my sentences because that way I'll stop my anger. I realize that when I'm not growing, I get angry. I'm always growing though. You have to be careful about how you speak also. I'm always growing. I realize that those people who don't grow are always angry. You have to realize. You have to realize that they're the people who just waste time in nightclubs and waste time with their girlfriend or man and just have sex all day. I mean, they're doing nothing. You have to understand that it can only last so long. I mean, life will start to say, you must go to work, mate. I never care about your wife. I need you to work for me now. I never care, mate. You will then say, I've got my girlfriend, man. I never care about your girlfriend, bro. I never care. You have to work, man. You have to work, or you'll pay the consequence and you'll never have the possessions of this world. I promise you. Then you say, I never need your stupid work. I never need these stupid possessions of this world. I need to go and do Jesus' work now. I promise you, although when you just waste time and you never do Jesus' work, you'll be a low life. I promise you, you'll be homeless. I promise you that homeless people are people who really, really, let's say, figured it out in terms of never working a 9 to 5, although they're never really doing Jesus' work to uplift. I promise you that homeless people are that track. You understand? I promise you that those people who are working a 9 to 5 have homes and in the middle class family. I promise you that those people who escaped the 9 to 5 are more, right now, more than ever, you have to understand, more than ever, able to do Jesus' work. You can do Jesus' work when you're working a 9 to 5 also. I mean, all you have to do is lift people in the workplace. You never work for the money. You have to understand, you can go to the workplace and you can do anything in your workplace and you can never consider the money that you're working for. I mean, you just go and do what's said. You have to understand that eventually you have to move away from that 9 to 5 job. You have to grow yourself to the point where you can leave. I mean, it can be 10 years for you. I mean, it can be 15 years where you have to be in that job and you have to be stuck there. You have to understand that no matter what, you go and find your life. You go and find something you can do because you have to think smarter than everybody else. I promise you that those who are smarter than you will pin you down. I mean, no matter what, that those people who are smarter than you will lift you up, while those people who never care about you in terms of a 9 to 5 job will pin you down. I promise you that you just have to be smarter. I promise you that the smartest people in the world are Jesus Christ. I'll just say it that way. I promise you that smarter people will never ever lift you down. I promise you that smarter people will lift you up. I promise you though, the stupid people that most of the world is around, you have to understand they believe stupidity and they believe other people and what they're doing. And I promise you they're watching the news and they're listening to the radio and they're tuning in to some person who has no health. And they're listening to that person because they're a politic and because they eat a certain food. I never know what the fuck that is. You have to understand that you go simply to Jesus and you go and do what Jesus will do. Do you understand that Jesus would never work a 9 to 5 job today? You understand that Jesus would never ever work for money and possessions of this world? Why would you? Why would you work the 9 to 5? I don't care about how you're going to make the possessions of this world. I don't care about that because Jesus never cared about that. I promise you that Jesus cared about freedom. I promise you that Jesus would love for you to have more freedom in your life and would say for you to get the government. I promise you that Jesus would say for you to get the government handout. I promise you Jesus would say that. You go and grab yourself the government handout and you start doing Jesus' work. And you just remain that way and you be free. I promise you that Jesus would love that for you. I promise you that you'll be happier getting a government handout and doing Jesus' work than working a 9 to 5 for some measly $200 a day. I mean, how much is $200? You have to understand that you're only number one in life. You never work for numbers in life. You just work for number one, which is Jesus. You never work for any other number. You understand? I promise you that all other numbers are evil numbers. I promise you the only good number in life is number one. I promise you that there's only one person in life who you can really inspire in terms of who you can get inspired. You have to understand that no matter what, you will even inspire Jesus. I promise you that Jesus will be inspired by you. You have to understand that those people who are really, really communicating more and lifting up and making sure that they can get in front of a crowd and gain some attention because they love themselves. I mean, I'm a vegan and my skin looks very beautiful right now. I take care of myself. I have some hair coming over here. I pluck them every single day. I do it so that I can stop anger. I mean, if I never brush my teeth daily, and when I see hair here, and I see hair here, and I see hair here, and I never brush my teeth and I have a scratch over here and I have dirt over here and I have an ugly face, I promise you that I'll be resenting more of the world than anything in the world. You have to understand that no matter what, that is never the case for myself in Jesus' name. You have to understand that those people who can see that can really, really understand that veganism is going to help you to relinquish your anger. You have to understand that sobriety will help you relinquish your anger. You have to understand that Jesus' work will relinquish your anger. I gave you 3 tips. You have to understand that also staying away from the crowd will relinquish your anger, and so will writing a journal. I promise you, when you're writing a journal, you'll be able to give your story out. You need to go and see my examples in my Mega Drive. You have to understand how to write. You have to understand that you just write you write one step at a time. You write word after word. You just stick to the first word. You stick to the first word. You understand? You just keep writing one word after one word after one word. You understand? You only ever write, you have to understand that in life, there's only one word. I promise you, every single knowledge and everything derives from one. You understand? You only work for one. You never work for 2 or 3 or 4. You only work for one word. You only work for number 1. You only work for Jesus, who is number 1. You understand? You work for wisdom. You're going to be a wisdom worker. You're going to be a light healer. You're going to be someone who works a miracle in somebody's life through information. You're giving commodities. You look at my videos, I'm giving you information and commodities. I'm healing you in some kind of way by making you more aware and by really, really emphasizing that you must go this place, and I'm really being your guide in terms of how to find Jesus better and how to really live a life better through Jesus. I promise you that no matter what, I'm not Jesus. I am also Jesus because I do Jesus' work. You have to understand that you go and be a person who studies life. You study life and then the information. You study life and the information and you make that your business and you do it for free. You have to understand, you do it for free for a certain period of time. I've been doing this for 3 years now. I've been really, really working at myself. I realized that before I was fat, I was never able to go on camera. I was never able to show myself. I was never able to go on Instagram and model myself. I have 2,700 photos inside of Instagram right now. You have to understand me. I before was never able to do that. For every post that I post 10 photos of myself. I love myself so much. I realized before I was never even able to take a video of myself because of how much I hated myself. You have to realize that when you're inspiring, when you're lifting, you have to understand when you're lifting people, you need to be a person who's really, really in that kind of manner, such as Jesus is. You need to really keep the flow moving in your life, and you have to realize that those people having fun now are in their comfort zone, and in 10 years' time, they're really going to regret it. I promise you that people in the crowd is going to really, really drag them into the 9 to 5. I promise you, from that point, life's going to hit you. I promise you, life's going to drag you down. I promise you that you'll always be dragged down by life if you're never growing. I promise you that those people who survive and thrive throughout life, I promise you those people who are really thriving and never surviving, I promise you that those people who are surviving are really dying. They're just trying to survive. You look at the homeless person, I promise you that person's surviving. They're trying to survive. You have to understand that life's pinned them down. Life doesn't care about them. I believe it's very sad. I also never show them any sympathy. You have to understand that when you show people sympathy, and when you go to the homeless man, you have to understand that it's what they deserve. You have to understand that they deserve that. You have to understand they never did Jesus' work. You have to understand that those people who do Jesus' work will never be homeless on the street. I promise you that you always have a choice. I never need you to be that person. I could have been that person. I promise I picked it up. I started learning. I started reading at 22. I realized the crowd was stuffing with me. I realized the crowd was going each way and calling me ugly, and really, really, the rehab that I went into And when I went into it the first time, I really started to wake up to myself. I started to wake up to myself to say, I have no friends over here. I mean, nobody came to visit me. I mean, my biological dad and his girlfriend did. Probably everybody else never cared about me. I mean, my dad was about to kick me out of the house. I promise you my mum was finished with me. I promise you my mum was finished with me at a period of time. I was about to be homeless if I never even started reading. I started to read. I started to read for the first 3 years. I was fat. I was ugly. I suffered. I never had sex. I had some girlfriends when I was fat. I'm much sexier now and I have no girlfriend. I realized I have no need for them in my life. I realized that no matter what, I am setting myself up for success for when I turn 30 and 40s and 50s. You understand? I mean, at 50s, I'll be in my prime. I'll be in my prime when I turn 100. I'm setting myself up for success because I never need to go to the nightclub now. I realize what's ahead of me. I have a career. I have something to do. I realize I can go and pick up women, and I can go and lift everybody in the crowd. I can go and lift everybody in the crowd up for generations and generations. I promise you that people will love me in the crowd. I can lift them up. I promise you that also people will be much jealous of me because I have more success than them. I just never need to surround myself around those people because they'll be throwing information at me and arguing with me about everything. I mean, I'll be having the experience of my life growing. I mean, I just can do it much better with myself and being alone with Jesus Christ. You have to realize that Jesus Christ is your one pinpoint in the middle. I promise you that when you look towards anything that's happening in the world, you have to understand the spheric world that you live in. You have to understand that Jesus is the middle. You have to understand that you relate everything to the middle ground of Jesus. I mean, the more you study the Bible, I promise you the more you're going to find out about Jesus and how Jesus lived in terms of his habits. I promise you that's the key. I promise you that's the key. I promise you Jesus never had sex. I promise you Jesus never had kids. Why do you have to be ashamed to have kids? I mean, why do you have to be ashamed to have no kids? You just have to look at Jesus. I promise you Jesus never had kids. Why would you be ashamed of it? I was ashamed because I had no sex. I was ashamed because I had no sex drive. I was ashamed because I had no beautiful woman in my life in terms of having sex with them. I had no porn stars in my life. I promise you, I look at Jesus, I see the guy never had porn stars in his life either. I promise you, I see one guy in pornography fucking so much woman. I promise you, I watched him. I promise you, I degraded myself. I look at Jesus, I promise you, Jesus never had sex with those women that he had sex with. You understand? You have to understand that no matter how many guys have had sex with how many women, I promise you, Jesus never even had sex. I promise you, no matter what, I never degrade myself. I teach you about something that I've done. And I've been watching pornography also in terms of the past. I realize no matter what, that pornography will never get you anywhere. You have to understand that pornography is just a quick fix solution. I promise you, what will fix you is growth and videos and audio podcasts and entrepreneurship and business and collaboration and talking with more people. I promise you that connection is key. You have to communicate, and communication is key. You may have heard of that one. You have to understand that those people who communicate more and more and more and more and more, I mean, through a journal. I mean, you never need to communicate with people. You just need to communicate with people in a journal. I promise you that's the key. I promise you that nobody has time to listen to you and talk with you. I promise you that you have all the time in the world to talk with yourself and Jesus. I promise you that you can go and look at my examples inside of my journals. I make every single day, I make 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. You understand? I make more and more so that I can grow. You have to understand, I make one journal that completes my word in Jesus Christ. I never care about anything else. I only care about Jesus Christ because that is my Lord and Savior who's really making me happier. I mean, you can never grow without Jesus. I promise you, Jesus has the most solid habits in the world. You need to improve your habits. I promise you that you go to Jesus right away and see what his habits are. I promise you, you go and make decisions like Jesus did. I promise you, you go and relate every single topic to everything and go and teach right now about Jesus and what Jesus will do in those topics, I promise you that you'll start to build a business. I promise you you'll start becoming a life coach. I promise you you'll start becoming a miracle worker. I promise you you'll start becoming a knowledge broker, as Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi say. You have to understand that knowledge brokers and people of that nature are life coaches, and life coaches are people who are miracle workers and support workers who really specialize in wisdom, such as Jesus, and are always growing. I mean, there are many people who specialize in something and never grow. I mean, Tony Robbins said it. I mean, they major in minor things. You understand? You have to understand that your schedule is 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You understand? I mean, you must be more successful than everybody else. You must be able to do more and grow more. And you have to be able to put in the effort more and more towards those people around you. You have to understand that if your social media and what you have going for you is never working for you in terms of nobody's following you, I promise you it's because you've never really started to lift people. I promise you it's really because you've never started to do something around people. I promise you that when you do something around people, you'll more likely be able to attract attention. I promise you that I do this. I just although had to start more with people. I realize that I have to go and approach people. I have to grow with them. I have to build a community around me. I focus on myself in Jesus' name. I realize that's the only thing I can do. I realize it's the best thing I can do. I realize I'd rather be in my one-room accommodation apartment for the next 10 days and my whole life just doing better. You understand? I realize no matter what, I'd rather be here right now than in a nightclub chasing women because I at least taught you something. I mean, that is what a leader does. You have to understand that chasing women is for my selfish pleasure. I mean, I may grow from it on my own. I realize that no matter what, I may even teach her something. I realize it's just between us two. I mean, I could have picked up another 2 or 3. I don't know. You don't know about that. I really don't know about life. You have to understand that I can only see Jesus and I follow Jesus Christ. You have to understand that those people who know nothing are willing to grow. I promise you, when you know everything, you never even seek to grow. I promise you that no matter what, when you know everything, I need you to say, I need to know more though. I need to know more. I need you to say, I'm open-minded. I'm curious about life. You need to keep moving your conversation forward. You have to realize that conversation is key to having less anger in your life. I promise you the reason, and the number one reason that you are angry and that you get jealous is because you're never planning. You're never talking to yourself all day long. You're talking to other people more than yourself. You understand? I mean, I talk to myself more than anybody else. I really orchestrate my life around words. I mean, I'll write and write and write all these words and value I give to you. I give to you for Jesus Christ. You understand? I'll do it in Jesus' name. You have to realize that many people are going to lie to you in terms of wisdom, and you have to realize that you go and absorb all the lies and all the information. You just go and absorb the information. I promise you that you have to keep learning though. I promise you that many people will absorb lies and never learn more. I mean, they will go to one person and ask. I promise you they'll trust the person completely. I promise you the person will say, that person done this. I promise you that person will say, what a fucking asshole. I promise you that person will start to resent what he heard. I promise you the guy will resent somebody else because somebody else said something in terms of a lie. I promise you the guy is led by the blind. I promise you he's choosing it. I promise you she's choosing it. You understand? You go and find out for yourself then. I mean, when you go and find out, you go and approach the person. I heard this about you. Are you honest about this? You go and approach the person. You have to understand that I just taught you that when you go up to the person, you ask the question, did you do this? You'll find out. I mean, you can do that in all aspects of life. You can find out with Jesus, what did you do, Jesus? I mean, when you ask your question in terms of what did you do, Jesus, you'll probably have the question first, and then you'll go and seek what you need in terms of you go to Jesus, and you'll literally get your phone out, you'll type in the Bible, you'll watch the movie Jesus Christ, you'll go into a verse, you start reading the whole Bible. I mean, you just read and read it and read it. You just find out the story and you also write about the story as you read it. I promise you that's the fastest way to grow. I promise you that no matter what, when you're watching a video, you never just absorb my knowledge over here. I promise you that's the easiest thing in the world. I need you to write something about what I say. I need you to go and make up your own study about what I say. I promise you that maybe you're grabbing some ideas. You have to grab those ideas and you have to write them down right now. I promise you that while Grant Cardone or Tony Robbins or Tim Ferriss or Lewis Howes or Robert Kiyosaki are really talking, I have to be writing something because I totally have something else in mind. I totally listen to their knowledge, I absorb it, I also write something to 10x it too. I realize no matter what, I absorb their knowledge, I see what they're talking about, I write notes based on what they're talking about, I'm always ahead of the game. I realize then I may get an idea that sparked my attention about something that he said that went way back. I start writing about what I did way back. I give my story a bit. I give a bit of my story. I just found out that Robert Kiyosaki unlocked a bit of my story from the past. I realized I put in a journal, you can go and read it. I mean, I give bit by bit, anything is essential by Brian Tracy, who said that. I say little by little, anything is a middle. I give little by little, anything is a middle in my story every single day. I give you a bit about myself every single day. I promise you that is giving you a story. You understand? I promise you that your story can be one sentence. I live this type of lifestyle and that's it. I mean, my story is I just went up. I promise you, my long story short is I just went towards Jesus. I just stuck with Jesus. I promise you that's the whole story with my life. You're either up or down. I promise you that is all you have to really hear. I promise you when Jesus finds out your story, did you go up or down? I promise you that Jesus only cares about those people who really, really love Jesus more. You understand? I mean, no matter what, Jesus will love you no matter what. I promise you, although that Jesus loves everybody, I promise you that Jesus loves everybody equally. You have to understand that even the homeless people who do no work for Jesus, I promise you that Jesus would go up to them. I just realized today, I was walking back into my hostel so that I can do this video, which is really moving forward. I seen this beautiful woman on the floor, and I call her beautiful because everybody's beautiful. You have to understand. And the guy's holding her and putting his hand on her thigh. I promise you that she was overweight and that she was obese. You have to understand, no matter what, you have to realize that I seen her and I called her beautiful. I am just giving you more words over here. I'm not judging her about how she is. I just realized that that woman is never doing Jesus' work. I realized that she's having a really tough time. I promise you that she's very lost, and I promise you that nobody's helping her except for that man who put his hand on her to take care of her. I promise you that he's saying, you're safe with me. I have you. I have you. I respect that. I respect when somebody can do that. I promise you that Jesus is doing that for you right now. I promise you all that woman has to do is get a small little book with the Bible and put some effort in. You understand? I mean, put some effort in to read the Bible. You have to understand that the more you never do anything in life, I promise you the more you're going to be that woman on the floor who is obese, or that man on the floor who is obese and really has nobody. You understand? I mean, you don't even have yourself. You have to understand, all you have is Jesus. I promise you that all she needs is a bit of faith in Jesus. I mean, a bit of faith in Jesus every single day. I promise you it's going to grow you. I promise you it may take her 10 years and 15 years to really make something of herself. I promise you it's worth it. I promise you all of your life you have to have a little bit of faith more in Jesus. I promise you every day I have more faith in Jesus because I do 3 hours of video every single day. I promise you when I fall below the 3-hour mark, I say, fuck. You have to understand that I get upset. I mean, I say that I transformed that 2 hours into something else. I wrote in my journal. I did my music production. I did something else related to God. I mean, sometimes life can really damage you when you're really never watching out for yourself. You have to watch out for Jesus Christ more though. You don't watch out for yourself, you watch out for Jesus Christ and you look to what you You have to understand, you look toward what Jesus Christ needs for you. You have to understand that those people who never have a life are people who never follow Jesus. I mean, you just have to center yourself in Jesus. I mean, you go and surround yourself even with the positive people. You have to understand how a 50-year-old woman, you have to understand how a 50-year young woman who thinks she's old, you have to understand that everybody's young. You just have to really define yourself as young. Even though you look old, you have to say you're young. You have to be positive. You understand? You never grow old. I promise you that Jesus was never old. I promise you Jesus was young always. I promise you Jesus died young. I promise you the more wisdom you have in life, the younger you are. You have to understand that since I have been saying this, I have a nice beautiful phone over here. I have a Samsung A51 Galaxy and also a Samsung A20 Galaxy, and I am able to even pause my video and start a new sentence whenever I have to charge my phone. I just pause my video. You have to understand that I can do this whole segment and do sentence by sentence by sentence. I realize that even that's a smart idea for you to get started in your speech capability. I, although, did 1 minute snaps. I mean, it's the same thing. You just have to realize that you have Snapchat today, you have a 1 minute video, you make 1 minute videos about what you really need to say, you do it quickly. You do it quickly and you look smart about it. I mean, you look smart. You can talk anything in 1 minute. You make 5,000 videos in 1 minute. I promise you that you build your confidence more and more the more you speak in camera. You have to understand that it takes 5,000 times and more in order for you to even get going. I promise you, no matter what, it only takes you the first step. I promise you, it just takes you the first step to really do the 1 minute video first. You never think about anything else. You may die tomorrow. You never know. You have to understand, no matter what, you never think about tomorrow. You never think about yesterday. You think about this moment. You understand? You think about this moment. You have to realize that in this moment is Jesus. You plan everything in life in this moment. You plan the future in this moment. You never plan tomorrow. You never plan for anything other than this moment in life. I promise you, in 10 years from now, I promise you the future will be now. You plan the future now. You never plan for the future in the future. You understand? You plan everything in the moment. You have to be a person who's really, really emphasizing with other people. You have to understand what emphasizing is. You have to understand that emphasizing is really collaboration. You have to understand that emphasizing is really confidence building in terms of you're leading people to become better. You have to understand that most people fall here. You have to understand that most people will never know how to lead people. I promise you, I've already said, you can follow Jesus. I promise you that you can also make sure that you study all the knowledge that you can. You just go seek out information. I mean, when you seek out information, you will find what you're looking for. I mean, always is the way. You have to understand that no matter who you go to information, you need to keep asking questions more and more and more in order for you to grow more and more and more. I mean, I had to ask myself a question about what kind of video and topic will I do in this video. I mean, I have to do a topic that I've never talked about before. I mean, it all relates to the same thing in Jesus Christ. You have to understand that every solution and problem is solved in the Bible. I promise you, that's your business. You're going to do it for free? I promise you that you will be someone so big in 5 years, and 10 years, and 20 years. You go at your pace. I promise you that I'm now able to do up to 4-hour videos in one spot. I can do 8-hour days. I can teach for 8 hours every single day. I have to be really dedicated. I can do it. I'll have breaks every 4 hours. You have to understand that I can do it. I promise you that no matter what, those people who can do it can do anything. I promise you that those people who can do it, you realize they can do anything. You have to be a person who can do anything. I promise you that you can do anything because Jesus Christ says so. Understand? You just have to realize that those people who stop anger are really stopping I realize that people who are stopping anger are the people who are stopping the poison and the poisonous people around them and are really heading towards more information products. I mean, they're listening and reading audio tapes and have University on Wheels going. I mean, when they're driving a car, I used to drive a car. I used to listen to Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and the Born to Win seminar by Zig Ziglar. I used to read the Mastery course by Jim Rohn while I'm driving. I used to read so many books while traveling on the airplane, and I used to always have audio programs going. These days, I update myself in the world. I mean, I have 16, and I realize I have over 20 mentors, and I have Jesus. You have to realize no matter what, I have more enough to update myself in the world. I subscribe to those channels every single day. I promise you that every single day my mentors will send me 5-6 videos. I mean, 5-6 mentors are sending me videos one day. I promise you I receive 5 or 3 videos the next day from another 3 or 4 or 5 mentors. I promise you on the third day, I promise you it's always changing. I promise you the mentors of mine are always sending me something about the world. I go and I study. I usually try, most of all, to do more content instead of watch them. I realize that I still have to update myself with them. I realize that although it's much more important for me to do more content and start teaching more, I realize that my mentors are doing around 1 hour video a day. I do 3 hours of video a day. I mean, Tim Ferriss is doing around 3 hours a day. I can see Tim Ferriss is doing up to 2 to 3 hours. You have to understand that it's how you have to be. You have to realize that the more work you do, I mean, you're never competing with anybody. You're just realizing that you have to do more work. I realize that those people who are doing more and more work for God are going to be more successful. You just have to understand that. You have to understand that you teach your kids early on to go to church, and you have to realize that church is everywhere. You have to realize that really the church is the Bible. You teach your kids to go and pick up the Bible. I promise you, those people are going to lead you. I mean, the Jesus is going to lead you much better than anybody else on the planet. I mean, you never need a high school and a public school and an elementary school of the government to teach you how to live life. I promise you that all you need is the Bible. I promise you that my kids, I promise you I will send them directly to my Mega Drive to learn everything I've said. I've only given the best information. I've only ever given the best information. I mean, they're going to watch every single course that I do. I'll also make sure that's their homework every day. I mean, 1 video a day is their homework and 1 journal of mine a day. I never care. I mean, that's their school time. I promise you their school time is also with me, in person. I mean, I'll be asking them questions all day long. What did you learn about this? And where did you get that information? Who is that person? What do you like about him? How are you going to be better than him? What are you going to do today to man up? What are you going to do today to look more beautiful? You understand? You have to ask yourself questions also such as that. You have to ask your kids those questions. You have to make your kids learn something. I promise you that many parents are never teaching their kids anything. I promise you they're saying, you go to school. You have school today. I'll drive you. I promise you they never care about the kids. I started to resent those people way back in the past. I never need to resent anybody. I'm rich or better. I realize no matter what, that I'm always forgiving. I'm always a forgiver of life. I realize that you need to ask people more questions and more questions and more questions. I promise you that the greatest questions you can ask is Jesus Christ. You ask a verse. You say, give me a verse, God. You will go into the Bible and you'll find yourself one. You ask and you shall receive. I promise you that means when you ask, you shall receive the wisdom of God. You'll always receive it. I don't care what it is. You ask how to get a girlfriend, I promise you that somebody will teach you how to get a girlfriend. I promise you it's in the teaching. I promise you just go and teach more and more. I promise you go and learn how to find a girlfriend. I promise you learn anything when you go and learn it. I promise you that the more you learn, I promise you that is the course here in how to stop anger. I promise you that you just go and learn more and more. You have to be an entrepreneur. You have to be someone who's growing. I promise you that the best aspect of life is being on the offense about everything. You have to be on the offense. You can never be in the defense. You have to realize that the defense person is the homeless woman on the floor. I promise you that I never mean offense by that. I realize that no matter what, you have to understand that the homeless woman deserves better, although you have to understand that she has to lift herself for it. I promise you that Jesus will say, you deserve more than what you have. I promise you that Jesus will say, you have to grow, mate. You have to grow. You have to look at me. I gave you all the information. You have to study. Your choice. You're in life, mate. I promise you that Jesus would say that. I promise you that Jesus would say, I have a tougher life than you. And maybe God, I had a tougher life than you. I was human. I was God in a human body. I mean, you understand? I'm God in a human body. You have to understand that Jesus would say that. You have to understand that Jesus was able to bleed. You have to understand that Jesus was human. You have to understand that Jesus was killed by people. I mean, Jesus had powers. You need to understand that you may believe you have a tough life. I never care about that poor African boy who is in Africa right now who has no water and food. I need to understand Jesus. I need to understand Jesus. I don't care about the tiger who is getting killed. I don't care about that because that tiger teaches me nothing. I promise you that nothing in this world will teach you more than Jesus. I promise you nothing in the world teaches you except Jesus. I promise you that Jesus is your biggest teacher. You understand? I mean, you have to understand that those people who are making more money in terms of the worldly possession and are asking you to donate some of your possessions are scamming you. You have to understand that the world is free. You never charge for anything. I mean, when you ask for donations, you ask for possessions of this world, why do you need that? I promise you that Jesus would never even ask for possessions of this world. You understand? I promise you that Jesus would go ask for something that Jesus, in terms of the God's Bible and what Jesus' work is. I promise you that Jesus' work is doing teachings around anything but the world. You have to understand that is the key to happiness and being happier. I asked the person today, I said, do you want to be happy or happier? I realized the person said happy. I realized he just said, I need to be satisfied. I never need to be satisfied. I need to be happier. I said to him. You have to understand that no matter what, you be happier because a happier person will increase their potential and will grow. A happy person will stay the same. You have to understand, a happy person just stays in one zone. A happier person may be level 500 happiness, while a happy person may be level 1 happiness. You have to understand that you go and do whatever it takes today to uplift people and to uplift your neighbors and those women around you and whatever. You have to understand that you never resent the world, you just lift it. You understand? I promise you that's the only way that you're ever going to stop anger. And also when you look in Jesus Christ, I promise you that's the only way. I also will say that you guys go and share my video today. I promise you no matter what, I present to you every single day 3 hours of video. I hope that you have a beautiful day in Jesus Christ's name. I'll see you guys in the next video.